A couple of interesting ones I think we have this week. Real or not, Mitchell Robinson wants out of New York. Now, we mentioned this with Sky Zoo on here.
Mitch,
Knicks
if
Fan
you're watching.
TV. Knicks Fan TV. And shout out to you, Mitch Robinson,
Yes.
if you're watching. We love you.
No smoke. Just doing our job.
Knicks Fan TV had posted something on Twitter a couple of days ago, and it was talking about, they were having a conversation about should they trade Mitch for Jonas Valanciunas, and Mitchell Robinson commented on it. And so I'm going to stall for a second because I don't remember his exact comment and what he said.
He said something along the lines of, "I'm not going to say what I want to say."
Yes, but
and
I will.
He didn't seem very happy about it.
Yes, but I will let you guys know in due time. It was something of that effect, and it was kind of cryptic.
Let me see.
He left this in the comments, and shout out to CP and the good folks in Knicks Fan TV who pinned it at the top of the comments, which I thought was great. And if you look at it on Twitter, he says, "I'm not going to say what I want to say." Then he does heart hands emoji and says, "But all love," which I have to be honest, Mitch, we would like you to say what you want to say. Like, we all would like this. We all would love you to say what you want to say. But you know, I know he's not going to do it. Do you think Mitch is in his feelings? Does he want out of New York? Is he tired of his name being in his trade rumors, or does he understand that this is business? Real or not, does Mitch want out of New York?
I don't know what he wants. I'm not going to get into his head in that way. I do think, like, look, if he can play here, he'll play here. And I kind of think he'll just roll with whatever. Like, if they trade him, fine. If not, fine. Like, I think he'll be good either way. Although I do get the sense that if he does get traded, he will be very eager to show things that maybe he feels like he wasn't able to show here, because he's been hinting seemingly at years for expanding his offensive game, posting clips of him like during the summer going in offensively in like pickup games and workouts and getting ready for the season. And you'll see him shooting threes and dribbling and having a handle and things of that nature, because people often forget how skilled NBA players are, even though they don't all get to show it on a night-to-night basis. So I do think if he does get moved, I don't know if he wants to get moved, but I do think if he does get moved, he'll take advantage of the opportunity and try to showcase more than when he would have been here.
That's also the coaching staff, wherever he goes, if that is the case, they allow him.
I'm assuming it's not on. I'm assuming if he gets traded, because of what we're talking about and the kinds of deals we've been talking about, it would be on a team where, not that he can go rogue, but
I understand.
He won't be as limited, perhaps. You know, like if it is a Washington, for example, if Washington is they're just here for a good time. They're playing capture the flag. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a totally different thing. If it's Utah, same thing. Like, he might not go to a great team.
Do you think, and before we move on from this topic, do you think what our guy Greg says here in the chat? He says Mitch pays too much attention to social media. Is he paying too much attention to social media, or is he just having fun like he did on the IG post for Knicks Fan TV?
This one might be fun, but
yeah, I think so too.
Honestly, I think we all pay too much attention to social media.
Well, that's probably true. This is probably true. All right, you're gonna move on in real or not. Yeah, I don't think Mitch wants out. I actually think he wants to be here very much. I want to say that. I think he does want to be here.
I think he just wants to prove,
and I think he
wants to prove people wrong.
Like, yeah, I think he does. I think he wants to be healthy, and I think he has a lot. I think a motivated Mitch coming back, if healthy, is a very good thing for the Knicks team. That is what I'll say. Real or not, the Knicks clutch time woes that we've been talking about is due to the starters' minutes. And the reason I bring this up is our good colleague, Knicks beat writer Stephen Bondi, wrote something in the New York Post talking about the Knicks. And I want to read some stats here. So through Wednesday, New York had the third worst defensive rating in the NBA in clutch time. That is defined by the score being within 5 points and less than 5 minutes remaining in the game. The only teams worse than the Knicks were the terrible Jazz and the equally bad Blazers. New York ranks 15th overall in defensive rating, as Bryan had brought up before during the regular season, which is a lot different than it is for the 28th spot in clutch defensive rating. Now, the thought behind this is that the reason their defense might not be as good in the clutch is because they're playing so much minutes and fatigue is setting in, and they don't have the bench depth to help with that. Are you buying this? This data seems to suggest that. Stephen Bondi wrote a great column on this in the New York Post for everybody to check out. Are you buying that the clutch time woes that we're seeing defensively are due to the starters' minutes, playing too many minutes?
I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to scientifically prove this, but I think there has to be some real here. Has to be. Because if the depth is an issue, and we've seen, again, to bring up the stat that I brought up earlier, in terms of average fourth quarter margin, the Knicks are minus 0.7 this year. So that's basically in the bottom 10 of the NBA. That's right where Golden State is, where Houston is, surprisingly. New Orleans is in that area. Brooklyn also. Like, the only teams that are worse by a lot, it's just Portland, the Lakers, Philly, Washington, Utah, Toronto. Like, that all tracks. And then once you get to like Chicago, who's just minus 1.0, the Knicks are getting closer to that area. So the fourth quarters haven't been awesome. And I think playing some minutes for some of the bench guys, like as we talked about, it's not a matter of like all of a sudden cutting off Jalen Brunson's minutes to 30 a game or whatever. You can't do that. But do they need to play 40? Are there instances where if they're up by a lot or down by a lot that they couldn't just sit an extra couple minutes, and you could find minutes for Tyler Kolek, you could find minutes for Ariel Hockporty, you could find minutes for a Deuce McBride also who plays a decent amount of minutes, but I feel like he could even be playing some more sometimes, like just to give guys a breather. So I think this is something to watch. Like, you want to keep your guys fresh at the end of games. And this is the thing, like when they played Oklahoma City the first time around, all the Knicks starters were playing 40 minutes plus each, and they were dead by the time the fourth quarter, like 7-8 minutes to go, and Oklahoma City took that over. None of their starters played more than 38 minutes. Only 2 of them played more than like 33 minutes, which was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams.
And I think we absolutely saw the impact. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. You saw the impact of that in the game. It seemed like the players were tired. And not only that, the next night when they go and play in Chicago, they were gassed in that game as well, too. They leading at halftime, and then they just let their foot off the gas and look tired. I think there's something to this data. I think this is real. I think this is the thing that's actually more concerning for people in terms of the Knicks starters and the minutes police than it is injuries. It is more about the wear and tear and ability to finish games, particularly against teams that have length, against teams that have depth. This is why I think, yes, I said it. We're not asking to play the young guys a lot. Can you find 5 minutes in the first half for Pacome Dadier to help with some wing minutes? And I think that does help. You know, guys like OG and Mikal get some rest. I think that stuff matters. I talked about this on Knicks Film School this week with Jonathan Macri. I think that's the thing you should think about minutes. It's not the injuries. It's the wear and tear and being at your optimal self by the end of the season. So Steph wrote a really great column on this. I encourage everybody to check it out. I like when you look at things with data and how it supports what your eyes see. So, you know, I think that's true. That is definitely true there, and you want to look at that. Knicks 100 a game. You said OKC was on a back-to-back. Can't keep making excuses. Yeah, but they play a deeper team, right? Like, so back-to-back doesn't affect you when you play 10 deep as much as when you're playing 7. Those things, there's not an excuse. It's just numbers and it makes sense. All right, last real or not before we get out of here. Josh Hart will do something that no NBA player at his height has done before. Now, this is one that is going to be exciting to Bryan because Bryan loves the underdog. He likes shorter players that are going to fight and scrap. You know, if you know anything about Bryan, it's it. So, Bryan, here's the thing. No player in NBA history who is 6'8" or shorter, your kind of guy, has ever averaged at least 14 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal while shooting over 50% from the field and 35% from 3. Through 2 games this season, but this stat I have is through 41 games this season, okay? So they played 42. Hart was averaging 14.2 points, 9.6 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 1.5 steals, shooting 56% from the floor and 36.9% from 3. Nobody's done the numbers that I said before at the top. Remember, averaging at least 14 points, grabbing 9 boards per game, dishing out 5 assists per game, having to steal a game, shooting about 50% from the field, and 35% from the 3. We talked about him getting the double-digit triple-doubles. He is halfway there at 5 after he had one last night. Do you think he will accomplish this feat? Do you think he'll do something that no player at his height has done before in the NBA.
Real, I'm going to say. I will add, if there's a stat here that probably worries me, it's 2 actually. Because the assists would in general, but he has enough of a buffer where I don't think it's going to dip below 5. He's at 5.7. The points at 14.2 could take a little bit of a hit. We'll see. And the 3-point shooting at 36.9% doesn't take enough threes to sort of make that dip a whole lot, but it's a large sample size. Talking about 40 games left. But I'm going to say real. I think he does it. Honestly, I think he does this. I think there's even a world where the rebounds could get closer to 10 than 9.
I agree with that. I think my concern too is the scoring. That's my biggest number that I'm concerned about.
Scoring and the shooting.
The scoring and the shooting, not the field from shooting from the field. I think that'll be fine. It's the 3. I play scoring and 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm rooting for him to do it. I know you are, but I'm going to lean to real too. I think this could happen. This could be a good one.